Hi there, my name is Valerie Trujillo. My nursing career started at a National Cancer Institute designated comprehensive cancer center that not only treated patients with cancer but also conducted research and clinical trials. What led me to this project was looking back at my experience as a new grad that was just starting in oncology. In my new grad program, I received what I consider to be quality education regarding the biology of cancer and principles of oncologic treatments and emergencies. At my current hospital, I believe we can expand on how we train and educate nurses that are new to this field. Upgrading and adding to our education materials would improve both nurse confidence and patient care. This is Sue, and she's a newly hired nurse on the bone marrow and solid organ transplant unit. She's excited to begin her journey in this new specialty, but she knows she has a lot to learn. In this specialty unit, care is delivered to highly acute and immunocompromised patients where the nurse must be proficient in infection control practices. Most of our patients have central lines that put them at risk of a bloodstream infection if not maintained properly. This is especially important in our unit because our patients are neutropenic, which means they don't have enough white blood cells to fight infection. We also take care of new post-op kidney and liver transplant patients who take medications to suppress the immune system to prevent rejection. We use these central lines often for tasks like drawing labs, administering medications, transfusing blood products, replacing electrolytes like potassium, magnesium, and calcium, and for chemotherapy. Speaking of chemotherapy, it's required that our nurses become certified to administer it. Due to the special requirements of our patient population, it's important that a newly hired nurse get up to speed quickly. My vision for the binder was that it would be a collaboration between the clinical mentors of the unit, as well as getting input from our newest hires, including the 2 new grad nurses that were hired within the last year. Feedback from new hires is important so we can provide the most helpful unit training manual possible. It is not my intention that this should be a one-size-fits-all handbook. There should be flexibility in the education offered, depending on the level of experience of our new hire. For instance, someone who worked in bone marrow transplant at another hospital only needs education on our institution policies and our unit work standards. For my leadership role in this project, I relied heavily on my cognitive strengths like curiosity, open-mindedness, love of learning, and perspective, as well as civic strengths such as fairness and teamwork. Fairness is important to me and ranked number 2 when I took the VIA questionnaire. Fairness was implemented in how the work was distributed, considering my team's time constraints. Teamwork involved not only working with the clinical mentors, but also getting feedback from our new staff members. My personal approach to leadership is what Northouse describes as a situational approach. Northouse explains that different situations require different kinds of leadership. One theory of this approach is known as contingency theory, which involves matching leadership style, traits, and behaviors to various situations. I appreciate the contingency theory of leadership because it describes a flexibility that lends itself to a democratic style of leadership. A leader must adapt their style to followers for the best outcome. For this project, my team members did not require much oversight or guidance. Team members were valued for their insight, experience, and problem-solving skills. There was no hierarchy because we all have the same job title and responsibilities on our unit. So the project required a collaborative effort where input was gathered based on unit needs and our collective experiences as new nurses. I also didn't need to delegate tasks as each member volunteered for specific sections of the training binder. For me, a situational approach to leadership in my job role is needed because I'm a charge nurse, a clinical mentor, and a preceptor. These three roles require different styles of leadership. I must transition between being supportive and nurturing and being decisive and in command, depending on my role, the situation, and the followers. In this course, I learned I subscribe to the Theory Y philosophy. Theory Y is based on assumptions that people like work, they're self motivated, and that they accept and seek responsibility. Providing education and reference materials goes beyond just making sure that a new nurse can complete nursing tasks. This new manual will provide the foundation for the nurse to learn about diseases like leukemia and lymphoma, how to take care of someone who just received a donor kidney or liver, and also the unique medications that are administered to this patient population. Northouse mentions the democratic style of leadership models the Theory Y assumptions. A democratic leader is known to encourage professional development and focus on team success. This project grew from the popular saying of, quote, a rising tide lifts all boats, end quote. When one of us succeeds, we're all lifted and work toward a culture of excellence. Our unit culture is grounded in teamwork, and there is no inclination to control others. I'm not someone who micromanages, as I believe those I work with are capable of doing what is expected of them. The culture of this team is purpose-driven. We're motivated by the purpose of giving our patients the best care possible, and we achieve that purpose through staff education. As I mentioned earlier, it's important to get a new hire up to speed quickly, and it can be a steep learning curve. As clinical mentors, we strive to provide up-to-date information and validate competencies during orientation. This purpose shaped my vision of making comprehensive binders containing current information for our new hires. Focusing on new hire education intended to build confidence in one's practice with the goal of providing excellent care for our patients creates a positive and constructive climate. The educational binder, along with having a preceptor, creates structure and establishes expectations. I also establish a positive climate during my shifts by being a resource for all the nurses. I help with patient care, resolve problems with other departments, and troubleshoot any problems they're having. It's important to me that staff feels comfortable coming to me with questions or a problem. Northouse explains that in a general sense, diversity is about variety or difference. It's within this context that we took diversity into account. It was important to have some flexibility in the content of the new hire binder and that it addressed the individual needs of each new hire. A new grad nurse has different learning needs than an experienced nurse who is moving to a new specialty. Also, a nurse with BMT experience probably just needs to learn our workflow, how and what we document, what doctors to call, etc. Among project team members, diversity of experience enhanced the content of the binder. Inclusion was implemented by not only gathering input from the experienced clinical mentors, but I felt that it was important to get some feedback from our newest group of nurses. While most found the information we were including as being helpful, one person thought it would be helpful to list the most used chemo regimens on the unit and the nursing considerations involved for patient care. She had made her own table with notes that I hope to edit with her and include in the binder for the future. Thankfully, there were no true conflicts within the group. Admittedly, there was a bit of struggling with content and what to prioritize. That's where input from our newest staff helped us. The biggest obstacle was lack of time and communication. We all work on the floor as either charge nurses or clinical mentors, so my team could only spend minimal time on this project. My team members also work a different shift than I do, so only a few quick words could be exchanged during shift change. The beginning of a shift is not a good time to meet, so emails were the main way we communicated. This little guy epitomizes how I felt trying to reach out to my team. I believe that ethical behavior is a manifestation of values, and Northhouse outlines 3 principles regarding the actions of ethical leaders that include showing respect, serving others, and showing justice. Part of showing respect, according to Northhouse, is valuing others' ideas. In my opinion, everyone has something to contribute in some way. For instance, when the new grad on the unit shows me a better way of doing something in our charting software, I share that information and give her the credit. She also is very adept at using Word and Excel, so I always welcome her advice. Additionally, while I never think of my leadership position as a charge nurse and clinical mentor in terms of serving others, the definitions Northhouse uses explains how mentoring and empowering others falls in that category. Empowering my coworkers is important because it helps the nurses feel more confident in their practice and puts them in a position to help others by sharing their knowledge. I appreciate the popular quote of, "Give a man a fish and you feed him for a day, teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime." My team members gave me positive feedback overall. One team member checked every box in the agree column, and the other team member checked all the boxes in the strongly agree column. However, she did mark me down to the agree column regarding my ability to manage conflict well. I agree that I have room for improvement as far as managing conflict. It's something that I must do on a regular basis in my job role, and I'm constantly evaluating how I might have approached an issue differently. I was praised for being very organized and efficient, that I follow up with everyone, and that I'm a good mentor. While I appreciate the positive comments, I didn't feel very effective leading this project. It might have been because we hardly saw each other in person, so communication was difficult. I also think I have very good people working with me, so we had some really great ideas for the project. What went well with the project was the group's agreement and the importance of having a great education binder for the new hires to the unit. It will continue to be a work in progress, but we have all the materials in one place and will be able to add content as needed. When I have to lead the next group project, I'll need to improve how and when I communicate. I tend to take my time getting back to people, which I'm sure frustrates them. This project gave me an understanding of how leading a project means I have to be a visionary. This was a very small project, and I felt like I had a lot of difficulty with it because somehow it was a different kind of leadership than my role as charge nurse, where I feel quite comfortable managing staff and solving problems. I enjoyed learning about leadership and will continue to improve how I manage myself and others.